we've got the VW002S. This is a TL style DIY guitar kit, and the S indicates that it has a spalted maple veneer on top of the guitar body. So we'll look at that. But this video really represents what comes in all of our TL guitar kits. So we have options with basswood bodies, we have options with ash bodies, we have options with rosewood necks, we have options with mahogany bodies. So there's all sorts, and I'm sure we're going to continue to get more and more. But rather than making an individual video that's going to be mostly the same, I wanted to highlight this model. We'll talk about what comes in this and all the other TL DIY guitar kits. So even if you're looking at a different kit and you come across this video, that's why it looks a little different, but we'll talk through that. So the biggest difference on this guitar kit is, of course, the spalted maple veneer top that comes on this body. So the rest of the body is basswood, and the veneer is quite thin. Spalted maple is fairly expensive, so to keep costs down, we do a very thin veneer, if you can see the edge on that. Basically, if you take a power sander to this, you're gonna start crying very quickly because you're gonna sand through the veneer. It already has a fairly nice prep sand, really fine grain if you want to do any more sanding on this, and it won't be a problem, but that's already glued in and in place. The rest of the body is very similar to the basswood kits. That would be VW002. So everything else is very similar other than that top. One note on the body of this one and all the TL kits, you'll see the 4 holes drilled for the bridge, and there's an additional hole right here. Sometimes it looks like kind of a diagonal gouge, depends on the kit. That is for your ground wire for the bridge. So sometimes it can look alarming. This one doesn't look too bad. Sometimes it can look alarming, like what, someone gouged my guitar before I even got it, but that's what that's for. One other note that can be concerning at first glance is the hole right here. Why there's a hole from the first pickup cavity out to the neck pocket can seem confusing at first. It actually kind of goes down at an angle. And the only reason for that is to drill the hole that goes from this neck pickup cavity into the control cavity. Basically, you can't get a drill back into either of these long enough to go that far. So they start there, drill all the way through. That's why that's there, no other reason. One other thing to note on the body, on all of our TL guitar kits, it's routed for a humbucker in the neck position. Even though it normally ships with a single coil, it's there to give you a few options. Along those same options, you'll notice that while most of the holes are drilled, the holes to mount the pickguard do not have pilot holes drilled. The reason for that is that we had a lot of requests, especially with this kit in particular. It kind of changed everything for us in this regard, is that people sometimes didn't want to use a pickguard. Sometimes they wanted to use a clear acrylic pickguard to not cover up so much of the wood figuring. They might want to use a different material. We didn't want you to have to try to find something that's going to match the holes that we would drill. So if you use the stock pickguard, you can drill some quick pilot holes. It only takes a minute, but you have a blank canvas if you want to do something different without worrying about holes on this one. Several people I know did a clear pickguard on this model, have done a clear pickguard on this model. So they might only do a couple screw holes, kind of like an old broadcaster style, leave these off, and you can see the beauty of the veneer underneath the pickguard. One other note on the veneer is that if you'll notice, it is matched. It's a book matched veneer. So we have the same figuring on both sides of the guitar. The neck is a single piece maple neck with a maple fretboard. The truss rod, dual action truss rod, is pre-installed. The frets are dressed, leveled, filed, no sharp edges at all. The headstock is a paddle shape. Really, it's designed for you to cut your own shape, whatever you want to do. Obviously, some of the shapes created by Fender guitars are trademarked, so we cannot cut them and sell them like that. That's not something that we can legally do. Once it's your property, you can do whatever you want with it. We also have some pilot holes for string tees here. One other note, if you watched any of these, you're probably tired of me saying this, but every one of our guitar kits is numbered between the body and the neck. And the reason for that is they're matched at the factory to have a good snug fit. So as we put this in, you can see there's not a lot of gaps on either side. There's a little bit of gap at the front edge. That's not uncommon. Luckily, the pick guard covers any of that up, and I'm having a hard time doing this in the air, but you get the idea there. So everything is matched. You're not going to have a neck with a ton of play. Even with only having the guitar on one side, you can see how much play that has. Of course, once you bolt it in, you're not going to have anything. But it's going to be aligned nice. No worries about getting that aligned or any unsightly gaps as you work through everything. So it comes with a standard 1-ply white pickguard. As we look at the other hardware that comes with the guitar, first, I'll talk about the bridge. This comes with a vintage style 3-saddle bridge with individual adjustments, screws on this. Now this bridge, like our other TL style bridges, can be used in 2 configurations. The easiest way is to use it as a surface mount, where it mounts right onto the guitar body like that. And the strings pass through over the saddles and come out the back holes of this bridge, right there. However, a lot of people like to do a string through style on these TL guitars. We don't drill those holes, it's not ready for that, but you can do that with the same bridge. So besides having a set of holes across the back wall of the bridge, there's also a set of holes, these 6 smaller holes. If you want to do a string through style on the Telecaster, you can do that. So it set up for both configurations. We have our pickups, bridge, and neck. We have our pre-wired control panel, wired with volume, tone, 3-way switch. That would obviously go in there. Standard tuners. People ask about the quality of these tuners sometimes. They're similar to what you might find on like a Squier or an Epiphone. They're fine. They're easily upgraded. They're all standard sized hardware pieces. So if you wanted to upgrade to something like Grover's, for example, that's easily swapped out. We have a set of strings for setup. We have the output jack on a square plate. We have our neck plate and plastic bushing for that. We have our other hardware, neck screws, bridge screws, tuner bushings, pickup screws, strap knobs, string tees, pickup screws and springs, and these 4 little guys that I'm just completely drawing a blank on. What are those for? Oh, output jack. That's what those 4 are for. Okay, and then we have an output cable, Allen key for the truss rod, as well as a small Allen key for the bridge saddles. That's what comes in this kit. So like I said, in terms of all the hardware, the pieces, the configuration, everything other than the Spalted maple top is going to be the same in all of our TL style kits. The VW002, VW002R, which has a rosewood fretboard, the 002M, which is mahogany body. All of those have the same hardware included in the box, and you would build in a very same way. This guitar kit I would consider to be an intermediate level. The bolt-on neck does provide some simplicity. However, you do wire quite a few connections into the control panel. Onto the out, you need to wire the output jack, you need to put your bridge ground in place, and wire the pickups to the switch. So because of that, it's probably kind of intermediate level kit. Anyone can do it, even if you don't have soldering experience. With a little bit of patience, you can get there, and you'll have a guitar kit that you'll enjoy for a long time. The nice thing about these Spalted tops, they're all unique. None of our guitar kits look exactly the same that have these Spalted tops. So it's a little bit of a gamble. because you're not sure quite what you're going to be getting, if you're going to get figuring like this or other style figuring, but they're always beautiful, very great natural representation of what they could be. So with that, this is the VW002S from Vibeworks Guitars.